billionaire owner sat in a draft room and watched his entire organization go silent. No celebration, no high fives, just forced applause and blank stares. The GM didn't want him. The coach didn't want him. But the pick was made anyway. And in that moment, one of the most explosive quarterback controversies in NFL history was born. This is the story of how Shedeur Sanders fell 143 picks, landed in the most dysfunctional franchise in football, and became the center of a power struggle that could either save Cleveland or destroy everything.
But we got to start with the main story of the day, and that is Kevin Stefanski officially naming Shedeur Sanders QB1 against San Francisco. Dustin and Tyvis were not here yesterday, so before we dive into how long Shedeur will stay quarterback one in Cleveland, I'm curious what these two thought about Shedeur's debut against Las Vegas.
Perfect. It was absolutely a great game plan. I thought it was executed by Shedeur to perfection. They didn't ask him to do a ton.
April 26th, 2025, NFL Draft, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Shedeur Sanders sat in the green room wearing a custom suit surrounded by family, cameras, and a confidence that had carried him through every moment of his life. Mock drafts had him projected as high as the number 2 overall pick. Some teams had him going top 5. ESPN's analysts debated whether he'd be the first quarterback off the board. And then the Tennessee Titans selected Cam Ward with the first pick. Shedeur smiled. No problem. His name would be called soon, except it wasn't. The New York Giants passed on him at number 3. Then the Cleveland Browns passed, then the New Orleans Saints, then again, and again, and again. Round 1 ended. Shedeur Sanders was still sitting in that green room, his smile now frozen, the cameras capturing every second of his humiliation. Round 2 began. More teams passed. The Seattle Seahawks took Jalen Milroe instead. The narrative was forming in real time. Something was wrong. Teams knew something the public didn't. Then came round 3. The Cleveland Browns were on the clock again with the 94th pick. They selected Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel. That should have been the end of it. Cleveland had their quarterback. They'd moved on. But 2 rounds later, everything changed. The Browns traded up. Pick number 144, 5th round. And with that selection, they took Shedeur Sanders. The camera cut to Cleveland's war room. General manager Andrew Berry offered a slow, unenthusiastic clap. Head coach Kevin Stefanski's smile looked forced. Owner Jimmy Haslam sat in the back, stone-faced. This wasn't a celebration. This was a hostage situation.
Performance for a rookie's debut. He did something that 17 other quarterbacks tried to do before him as rookies, and they were unable to do it. So I think that is a huge accomplishment for him. And he's deserving of being the starting quarterback going forward until, I mean, even if Dillon comes back and is healthy,
I think he cleared.
I still would start Shedeur.
And that's the case. In fact, Kevin Stefanski, when he started his press conference yesterday, said some nonsense, I don't remember, and then he goes, Dillon Gabriel has been cleared from concussion protocol, and Shedeur Sanders will be the starter. He said that right away, even before he got asked about it.
The rumors started almost immediately after the draft ended. According to multiple NFL executives who spoke to USA Today, the fall wasn't just about football. It was personal, it was calculated, and it was brutal. I think his dad's involvement hurt him, one anonymous NFL executive revealed. Some of the things his dad said, I think that weighed on people's minds. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, Hall of Famer, media icon, and apparently the biggest liability in his son's draft stock. Teams didn't just see Shedeur as a quarterback prospect. They saw him as a package deal with one of the most polarizing figures in sports, and that terrified them. Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback, Fox Sports' Colin Cowherd said bluntly. The Colorado reality show, the cameras, the hype, the drama, it was all part of the Sanders brand, and NFL teams wanted no part of it. But that wasn't the only issue. Reports began surfacing about Shedeur's behavior during pre-draft interviews. According to NFL insider Todd McShay, the New York Giants had been heavily linked to Sanders before the draft. They were one of 3 teams seriously considering him. Then they had their meeting. It was Sanders' behavior during the team meeting that put them off, McShay wrote. Sources described him as brash and unprofessional. He reportedly challenged executives, questioned their systems, and acted like he was interviewing them instead of the other way around.
Like, when he tried to extend plays in Baltimore, it was like wild. It was like the spin out, lose yards and stuff like that. When he did it in this game, if you notice, like on the Bond pass and the Judy play, he like kind of sprinted down the line. Like it was like a rollout more than like him trying to run around. Like he rolled out and then he made his play. And I thought that was very telling. And then the biggest thing that I realized he like learned from the week 1 to the week 2 was he started to step up in the pocket. You know, a lot of quarterbacks in college.
Cleveland Browns headquarters, Berea, Ohio. Draft day, April 26th, 2025. Jimmy Haslam sat in the war room watching the draft unfold. His team had already selected Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. They had Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett on the roster. The quarterback room was crowded. But Haslam couldn't stop thinking about Shedeur Sanders. He'd met with him personally during Colorado's Pro Day. A large contingent of Browns executives, coaches, and ownership had flown to Boulder just to meet Sanders and Travis Hunter. It wasn't a courtesy visit. It was a cornerstone meeting, the kind reserved for franchise-altering prospects. Haslam was intrigued. The star power, the confidence, the jersey sales potential. Shedeur's rookie jersey became the best-selling rookie jersey in the first month after the draft. This kid was a brand, and Haslam knew it. As the 5th round approached, Haslam watched Sanders continue to fall. Value. That's what this was. Incredible value. According to multiple reports, conversations began happening in Cleveland's draft room. GM Andrew Berry, head coach Kevin Stefanski, owner Jimmy Haslam. And then the Browns traded up. When Sanders' name was announced, the war room reaction told the entire story. Berry's clap was perfunctory at best. Stefanski's smile looked like someone had just told him bad news. Nobody looked thrilled. Andrew Berry, the GM, did not look thrilled, Pro Football Talk reported. Kevin Stefanski had a little bit of a smile. But Andrew Berry didn't seem like a guy who just stumbled into a future franchise quarterback. Months later, Jimmy Haslam would address the controversy directly.
And had a really good run, but to me, the biggest thing that he did was he brought hope to that team. Like it was a spark. And we talked all year about how a change at quarterback always can provide a spark to a team. When he connected that ball to Isaiah Bond, that whole team lit up. I mean, obviously the clip of Myles Garrett was viral because Myles was like, and like they chest bumping and all that. It was so exciting because that's something that we hadn't seen. And it's so funny because it always makes me go back to me and G's film against Pittsburgh when we was watching it.
Yep.
And
Training camp, summer 2025, Cleveland, Ohio. Shedeur Sanders walked into the Browns facility as the 4th-string quarterback. Joe Flacco was QB1, Dillon Gabriel was QB2, Kenny Pickett was QB3. Sanders? He was QB4. He didn't get a single first-team rep during the entire summer. GM Andrew Berry compared Sanders' transition to the pros as someone who was fluent in English, and now you have to learn Mandarin. Translation? This kid has a long way to go. Sanders kept his head down. He worked. He studied. He didn't complain. But the message was clear. The Browns didn't view him as their future. They viewed him as a project, a flyer, a 5th-round pick who might develop into something someday. Then the season started and everything fell apart. The Browns traded Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders before roster cuts. Sanders moved up to QB3. Then they traded Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals in October. Sanders became QB2. Dillon Gabriel took over as the starter, and he was terrible. 4 games, a 30.9 total QBR that ranked 31st out of 32 qualifying passers.
Because it always makes me go back to me and G's film against Pittsburgh when we was watching it. And I literally said, it was that dig post concept, and I said, Shedeur gonna throw this post. That's the difference between Dylan and Shedeur. He'll throw that post. Well, I'll be darned.
I'll be doggone.
A few weeks later, he get a post to Isaiah Bond, and he actually throws it and hits it. So I just think that just seeing that element of them stretching the field, it put the Raiders in a disadvantage because they wasn't used to that. Like when you
November 17th, 2025. Cleveland Browns versus Baltimore Ravens. Huntington Bank Field. Dylan Gabriel took a hit in the first half. Concussion. He was done. Shedeur Sanders jogged onto the field for his NFL debut. No preparation, no first-team reps all week. Just raw, unfiltered chaos. And it was a disaster. Sanders completed 4 of 16 passes for 47 yards and an interception. He was sacked twice. His QBR was 2.4. By passer rating, his performance was worse than Nathan Peterman's infamous 5-interception game in 2017. Peterman's passer rating that day was 17.9. Sanders was 13.5.
Get that from Dylan Gabriel. I didn't see that on the sideline.
what was Dylan's first start again?
Minnesota.
Yeah.
It was his best start against Minnesota.
And he had
And
about
he played.
I wouldn't say it wasn't a spark because
I didn't
felt
see any. I didn't feel that energy from the sideline. Maybe that's
because Dylan Gabriel doesn't have that energy.
right.
True.
He doesn't
Yeah.
have that energy,
Yeah.
and that is something that makes Shedeur special, is because he has that.
It's a
as my
confidence.
daughter would say, aura. He's
Yeah.
got the aura.
He's got the aura.
I mean,
no doubt. He's got the aura.
Really good at aura farming.
November 23rd, 2025. Las Vegas Raiders versus Cleveland Browns. Allegiant Stadium. Shedeur Sanders walked onto the field for his first NFL start. His father, Dion, was in the stands. The cameras were everywhere. The pressure was suffocating. And then Sanders went to work. 11 completions on 20 attempts. 209 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 passes over 35 yards, an 87.3 passer rating. The Browns won 24-10. Myles Garrett recorded 3 sacks and broke the Browns' single-season sack record. The defense dominated. But Sanders had done enough. After the game, he stood in front of reporters and let it all out. "I'm definitely not comfortable, though," Sanders said. "I always want to exceed expectations. I always want to grow each and every week. I want to put a better product of myself out there." Kevin Stefanski gave him the game ball? No, he gave it to Myles Garrett. In his post-game speech, Stefanski barely mentioned Sanders. How about that big play by Dylan Sampson at the end, and then another rookie making his first start? Nice job, Shedeur. Well done.
And said it before, like 2 seconds before the game. Like, he left there and then went to the locker room. Like, specialists is out there. Like,
I will say this. Like, he is just like a sweet guy. Like, I think he's like a little. I don't know. Like, he's just pure. Like, he's a pure, innocent kid, and he loves playing football, and he's super confident in himself.
Yeah.
And I think he believes everything he says.
Let's face it. Shedeur Sanders is the Adam.
November 28th, 2025, Thanksgiving week. Shedeur Sanders is now the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, but his future remains uncertain. The Browns hold 2 first-round picks in the 2026 NFL Draft, projected to have the number 2 and number 19 selections. Multiple NFL insiders believe Cleveland will use at least one of those picks on a quarterback, Arch Manning, the name everyone's whispering. The grandson of Archie, the nephew of Peyton and Eli, the golden child of the most famous quarterback family in history. And Jimmy Haslam reportedly has a close relationship with the Manning family. If Manning declares for the draft, will Cleveland take him? Will they give up on Sanders after 1 season? The answer might not even be up to Sanders. From a projected top 5 pick to the 5th round, from 4th string to starting quarterback, from humiliation to vindication. Shedeur Sanders' journey to Cleveland has been anything but normal. He's faced doubters at every level, teams that didn't want him, coaches that didn't trust him, a father whose shadow follows him everywhere. But through it all, he's kept playing because that's what Sanders do. They prove people wrong. Baker Mayfield did it in Cleveland before the organization destroyed him. Now, Shedeur Sanders has a chance to do the same. Will he become the franchise quarterback Cleveland has been searching for since 1999? Or will he become another cautionary tale in the NFL's most cursed organization? The answer will define his career, and it might define the future of the Cleveland Browns. This is Shedeur Sanders, the most polarizing quarterback in football, the fifth-round pick who fell 143 spots, and the $100 million gamble Cleveland never wanted to make.